Okay, now this video is the second in a series of two videos talking about polynomial division. The first video addressed synthetic division. This video is going to address long division. And you may remember from our synthetic division problem, similar to the one on the lower right here, we had a video where we didn't have a remainder. So we just figured out that we had a nice answer, right, from synthetic division, assuming this was x cubed, which I kind of assumed because there was four terms here, right, x cubed, x squared, x, and constant. Everything drops by 1 degree. So again, the x cubed just became 1x squared. We had an 8 here in this problem, which would be 8x. And then that would be our 15 for our constant. But notice we didn't have a remainder. Notice the long division problem up top, and we would really do the same thing with the remainder in the synthetic division. But notice we did have a remainder of 2 there. So our final answer in that one has a 2x plus 1 up top. But then we simply are going to take that 2 remainder, and I'm going to add that on as 2 divided by x minus 3, right? Your divisor there that we were dividing by. So let's take a look at a couple examples of long division so we can kind of remember how this works. So again, we're dividing 6x to the fourth and all of its friends up there, all of its terms. So that's our dividend. Notice down below we put that underneath the big long division bar. On the bottom, we have the divisor, and now you'll notice x squared plus x minus 1, we would not be able to synthetically divide by that because that's not a linear factor, and technically it's not even factorable without some tough numbers there. So that's not a good synthetic division problem. But that's not going to be an issue for long division. You can divide by any polynomial, really, in long division. So let's remember how we do this. Remember, the key is going to be that front term, although all the other terms are going to kind of stick with us as we go. I want to say what's going to multiply by x squared in order to make this 6x to the fourth in that first term of our dividend. Well, I've got an x squared. I need an x to the fourth. I'm going to definitely need x squared. And I also have a leading coefficient of 1. I need a leading coefficient of 6. So I'm going to need to multiply by 6x squared. So I'm going to take 6x squared and I'm going to multiply times each, right, of these terms over here. I'm going to multiply that by the entire divisor. So 6x squared times x squared would be 6x to the fourth. 6x squared times x would be 6x to the third. So I'm going to say plus 6x to the third. And notice how it lines up directly below, right, this x cubed right above it here. So we're getting like terms all lined up. Then I'm also going to take 6x squared times negative 1, and we would say minus 6x squared. Now what you have to remember in long division is that we're always subtracting. So I'm going to multiply by that number up top, but then I'm going to subtract. So 6x to the fourth minus 6x to the fourth is gone. Negative x to the third, right, negative 1x to the third, minus another 6x to the third is a negative 7x to the third. And then we have a negative 1 plus, right, because I've got this double negative going on here. So a negative 1x squared plus 6x squared technically would be a 5x squared. Okay. Careful with those negatives. If it helps, you could always distribute the negative through. But again, you want to do that to all terms. So I would have to say plus, then I'm going to put a negative here and a negative here and a plus there. And notice if we went and added our terms now, we'd still end up in the exact same spot. Although you'll notice in the middle, oops, I forgot my negative on my 7 there. Negative 1 plus a negative 6 would be a negative 7x cubed. That would be a big issue. Careful with all of your details because we are not even close to done with this problem. I'm going to move on to my next term now. And I'm going to say, okay, well now I've got an x to the third. What would I multiply by x squared, right, over here to make negative 7x cubed? Well, I'm going to need that negative 7. I'm also going to need another x. So negative 7x times x squared would be a negative 7x cubed. And again, if it comes out exactly like the one above it, that's a good sign. Because when we go to subtract, that means that will disappear for us. I forgot to do one other thing very quickly here. Make sure you drop your next term down here as well. We need to say plus 9x. I'm not going to bring down the negative 3 yet. But now let's complete our problem here. Let's take that negative 7x times x would be a minus 7x squared. And then I'm going to take negative 7x times negative 1, which is why it was so important to bring down that 9x, because now we get a 7x right here, and I needed that like term. Again, I'm going to subtract the entire problem here. So negative 7, again, if it helps, let's distribute that negative. Let's make it plus. I'm going to go positive, positive, and negative. So negative 7 plus 7 is gone. 5x squared plus 7x squared is 12x squared. And then we've got 9 plus negative 7 would be a plus 2x. Remember, we were subtracting, but I went ahead and distributed the negative, so I didn't have to worry about that. Now I'm going to drop that negative 3 down here. And we've got one more step to go. So I'm going to go on here and say, okay, what would I multiply again times x squared to make 12x squared? Well, all I need is that 12. So 12 times x squared would be 12x squared. 12 times our middle term here is 12x. And 12 times negative 1 to finish would be minus 12. Don't forget we are subtracting. So again, I'm going to go ahead and subtract or run my negative through there. Sometimes that's helpful, especially with that extra negative on that last term. It's going to become a plus. 12x squared minus 12x squared is gone. 2 minus 12 will be a negative 10x. And negative 3 plus 12 would be 9. Now we have nothing left to bring down. And again, I can't turn an x squared from over here into a negative 10x. I'd have to lose an x. So in this case, that's our remainder, right? This is going to be r, right? Or our remainder. Go ahead and bring that label in over here. That's our remainder. So let's go ahead and write that up top. I'm going to add that onto my original problem as negative 10x plus 9, all divided by, again, x squared plus x minus 1 from the original problem over here at the left. And this full answer there is the answer to our problem. Again, you might want to write that off to the side just so it's a little easier to read. Sorry about the bad handwriting at the end there, but I'm hoping you can make that problem out there. Let's look at one more problem. We'll go a little bit quicker this time. This one's got some interesting stuff because it's missing some terms. So right off the bat, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to divide into x cubed. Now notice there's no x squared, so I need to say plus 0x squared. There's also no x term or linear term, so I'm going to say plus 0x. Then I can finally say the minus 9. That works for the divisor as well. I've got x squared, but notice there's no linear terms, 0x, and then a plus 1. So now I need to start the process and say, okay, what would I multiply by x squared? Well, just x to make that x cubed. And x times 0x, I'm still going to go ahead and write that down so I get those like terms lined up. And x times 1 would be x. Don't forget we're subtracting. So we're going to get rid of that first term. 0 minus 0, we actually get rid of the second term as well. We get to skip a term. And 0 minus 1 would be a negative x. Bring down that negative 9. And it actually turns out, because we got to skip that term, we're done already. Because again, I can't turn x squared into something where it's less than an x squared. I can't turn it into an x to the first. So my remainder just became negative x minus 9, right? That's my remainder over here. That was really bad handwriting, but I'm going to go with it. Plus, then, I'm going to put that remainder up top, negative x minus 9 all over. And again, now I can rewrite that divisor. I don't need to write that missing middle term, so I'm just going to say x squared plus 1. And again, we get our answer. If you have any questions about long division, make sure you talk to your teacher. Otherwise, have a great day.